Everyone trusted him. The smile, the confidence, the way he seemed to know exactly what to say. People liked him immediately. Some even admired him. But you didn't. You couldn't explain why. Nothing was obviously wrong. No red flags, no proof, no evidence. Just a strange feeling. Something felt off. Then one day the mask slipped, and suddenly everyone saw what you had sensed from the very beginning. The manipulation, the lies, the hidden resentment, the person behind the performance. The strange thing is, your brain noticed it long before your mind did, because people are constantly revealing themselves, not through their words, but through tiny cracks in the mask. A smile that lasts too long, a reaction that's slightly too strong, a compliment that feels rehearsed, a silence that appears at exactly the wrong moment. Most people miss these signals, not because they're invisible, but because nobody ever taught them how to read them. And that's exactly what we're about to change. Because once you understand the patterns hidden beneath human behavior, you'll start seeing people differently, not as they present themselves, but as they truly are. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The first thing you need to understand is this: people rarely hide from you. They're usually hiding from themselves. From a young age, most people learn which parts of themselves are acceptable and which parts must stay hidden. They learn how to smile when they're hurting, how to act confident when they're afraid, how to appear strong when they're falling apart. Over time, that survival strategy becomes their personality, and eventually even they forget where the mask ends and the real person begins. This is why reading people is not about spotting lies. It's about noticing patterns. Patterns reveal fear. Patterns reveal insecurity. Patterns reveal desire. Patterns reveal pain. And once you learn to see those patterns, people become surprisingly easy to understand. Not because they tell you the truth, but because the truth keeps leaking out. The first psychological truth is this: everyone wears a mask to survive. Not because they're fake, but because they're scared. Scared of rejection, scared of judgment, scared of being seen for who they really are. Think about the person who is always joking, always smiling, always making everyone laugh. Most people assume they're happy, but sometimes the funniest person in the room is carrying the heaviest burden. The jokes aren't revealing happiness, and they're hiding pain. The same is true for the person who always seems strong. Sometimes strength is real, but sometimes it's armor. And armor always tells you one thing: someone is afraid of being hurt. The second psychological truth is this: pay attention to what makes people uncomfortable, because discomfort is where the mask begins to crack. Imagine asking someone an ordinary question. They answer easily. Then you mention one specific topic. Suddenly they hesitate. Their voice changes. Their posture shifts. Their eyes look away. Maybe they laugh. Maybe they become defensive. Maybe they change the subject completely. That moment matters, because discomfort often points directly towards something unresolved. The truth is rarely hidden behind confidence. It's hidden behind tension. The third psychological truth is one of the most powerful. People often reveal themselves through what they criticize. Have you ever noticed someone who constantly complains about arrogant people, or dishonest people, or selfish people? Sometimes they're making a fair observation, but sometimes they're revealing something deeper. Psychologists call this projection. We often attack in others what we struggle with ourselves. The person obsessed with dishonesty may be hiding something. The person obsessed with arrogance may secretly feel inferior. The person obsessed with weakness may be terrified of their own vulnerability. This doesn't happen because people are evil. It happens because the mind protects itself. It points outward instead of inward. So the next time someone repeatedly criticizes the same thing, ask yourself, why does this bother them so much? You might learn more about them than they intended to reveal. The fourth psychological truth is silence. Most people focus on what others say. Very few pay attention to what they avoid saying. But silence is often louder than words. Someone asks a question, the room becomes quiet. The person pauses. Their answer sounds rehearsed, or incomplete, or strangely short. That silence contains information. Because people can control their words, but they often struggle to control hesitation, the topics they avoid, the questions they don't want to answer, the emotions they don't want to feel. Sometimes the truth isn't in the response. Sometimes it's in the delay before the response. And once you learn to notice that, conversations become completely different. The fifth psychological truth is where many people make a mistake. They assume kindness always means trustworthiness. But human psychology is more complicated than that. Some people are genuinely kind. Some people are kind because they care. But some people are kind because they need approval. And there is a huge difference. One feels natural, the other feels performative. You can often sense it. The compliment feels too polished. The agreement comes too quickly. The friendliness feels slightly forced, almost like they're managing your perception. This doesn't automatically mean they're manipulating you, but it does mean they're trying very hard to be liked. And people who desperately need approval often hide important parts of themselves because they fear rejection more than honesty. Now here's where things become truly interesting, because once you start noticing these patterns, you begin to realize something uncomfortable. The people around you aren't the only ones wearing masks. You are too. Every person watching this video has behaviors they don't fully understand. Every person has insecurities they try to hide. Every person has wounds they don't openly discuss, including you. And that realization changes everything. Because reading people isn't really about understanding others. It's about understanding human nature. The same fears, the same defenses, the same patterns, the same masks. And in part 2, we're going much deeper, because some of the strongest clues aren't found in what people show. They're found in what they're afraid of losing. And once you understand that, you'll start reading people at an entirely different level. The sixth psychological truth is this: people reveal themselves through what they fear losing. Most people spend their lives telling you what they want: success, love, respect, freedom. But those things rarely explain behavior. Fear does. Ask yourself, why does someone stay in a relationship that makes them miserable? Why does someone keep saying yes when they want to say no? Why does someone remain silent when they should speak? Often the answer isn't what they want. It's what they're terrified of losing: approval, belonging, status, security. A person afraid of rejection will tolerate things others never would. A person afraid of abandonment will ignore red flags they clearly see. A person afraid of failure may never even try. So when you want to understand someone, stop asking, what are they chasing? Start asking, what are they protecting? Because fear often drives behavior more than desire ever could. The seventh psychological truth is about control. Have you ever met someone who needed everything done their way? Every detail, every plan, every conversation, every outcome. At first glance, it looks like strength, but psychology suggests something deeper. The people who need control the most often feel the least in control internally. Think about it. When life feels uncertain, people search for certainty. When emotions feel chaotic, people create rigid rules. When they feel powerless inside, they try to become powerful outside. That's why controlling people are often not confident. They're frightened. The control isn't proof of strength. It's proof of fear. And once you see that, something changes. You stop feeling intimidated. You start feeling curious, because behind many controlling personalities is someone desperately trying to keep their world from falling apart. The eighth psychological truth is one of the easiest to spot. Exaggeration reveals insecurity. Listen carefully to extreme statements. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm always happy. I'm never jealous. I'm completely over it. Really? Always? Never? Completely? Human beings are rarely that absolute. And when someone speaks in absolutes, they're often trying to convince themselves. The louder the certainty, the bigger the doubt hiding underneath. People who truly don't care what others think rarely talk about it. People who are genuinely confident rarely announce it. People who are truly at peace don't constantly tell the world they're peaceful, because real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need advertising. And once you understand this, you'll start hearing insecurity everywhere. Not in weakness, but in overcompensation. The ninth psychological truth explains something many people misunderstand. Attention-seeking is often a fear of being forgotten. Most people see attention-seeking behavior and immediately label it as vanity, but that's usually only the surface. Underneath that behavior is often something much more human. The fear of invisibility, the fear of not mattering, the fear of being overlooked. Some people learned early in life that attention was the only way to receive love, so they continue chasing it as adults. Not because they're selfish, because they're hungry to feel seen, hungry to feel important, hungry to feel valued. That's why the loudest person in the room is not always the most confident. Sometimes they're simply the most afraid of disappearing. And once you understand that, you stop judging quite so quickly, because every behavior begins to tell a story. The 10th psychological truth may reveal more than any other. Watch how people treat weakness, not power, not status, not success, weakness. Watch how someone treats a nervous person, a shy person, a struggling person, someone who can't offer them anything. That's where character becomes visible. Because anyone can be kind when there is something to gain. Anyone can be respectful when the other person is powerful. But true character appears when there is no reward. Some people mock weakness because they fear their own. Some people attack vulnerability because they were punished for theirs. Some people cannot tolerate mistakes because they were never allowed to make any. But truly strong people do something different. They create safety. They don't need to dominate. They don't need to humiliate. They don't need to prove superiority because they've already won the battle inside themselves. And that may be one of the clearest ways to read someone instantly. Not by watching how they act around important people, but by watching how they act around those who seem unimportant. Now we arrive at the final psychological truth, and perhaps the most important. Patterns or confessions. Think about the people you've known throughout your life. The friend who always disappears when relationships become serious. The person who constantly changes jobs. The one who keeps repeating the same mistakes. The person who falls for the same type of partner over and over again. At first it looks random, but it isn't. Patterns are messages. They're telling you where someone was hurt, what someone fears, what someone still hasn't healed. People rarely tell you their deepest wounds directly, but they reveal them repeatedly through behavior. The person who avoids commitment may be protecting themselves from abandonment. The person who works non-stop may be running from stillness. The person who constantly seeks validation may still be trying to earn love they never received. And once you start seeing patterns instead of isolated events, everything changes. You stop taking things personally. You stop assuming every action is about you. You stop reacting emotionally to every difficult person you encounter. Because you realize something powerful. Most people are not fighting you. They're fighting battles inside themselves. Battles that started years ago. Sometimes decades ago, and those battles leave fingerprints in their reactions, in their fears, in their habits, in their relationships, in their patterns, which brings us back to the beginning. That strange feeling, that moment when someone smiles, and yet something feels wrong. The reason that feeling exists is because your brain notices patterns before your conscious mind understands them. It notices contradictions, it notices tension, it notices inconsistency, it notices the gap between words and reality. And most of the time, it's trying to tell you something. The goal is not to become suspicious of everyone. The goal is not to become cynical. The goal is awareness. Because once you learn to see people clearly, you stop being fooled by appearances. You stop confusing charm with character. You stop confusing confidence with security. You stop confusing performance with authenticity. And perhaps most importantly, you become harder to manipulate. Not because you've learned tricks, but because you've learned to see. And that changes everything. Because the truth is, people are constantly telling you who they are. Not through what they say, but through what they repeat, through what they fear, through what they avoid, through what they defend, through what they cannot stop revealing. The question is no longer, can you read people? The question is, are you paying attention? Because once you do, you'll never see people the same way again.